Is peat fossil? We call peat a fossil material, just as we do for oil, gas and coal. Peat lobbies like Growing Media Europe say it isn't a fossil material. Who's right? Peat is the largest terrestrial carbon stock, storing twice as much carbon as all the forests of the world. Peat stores all this carbon in a stable form, preventing it from oxidizing to CO2, which would fire up the climate crisis. Forming peat takes thousands of years. Digging it out just takes a few years to decades. It is impossible to fully restore a peat bog devastated by peat extraction. Therefore, the open pit mining processes used to extract peat are irreversible on any reasonable human timescale. Growing Media Europe's argument that peat is not fossil takes a geological perspective. From this viewpoint, it's correct. Peat is formed when dead plant material is preserved in the wet and acidic conditions of a typical living peat bog. Geologists talk about fossilization once the physico-chemical processes begin, which form coal from peat. When discussing peat extraction, we talk about a climate-related problem, not geology. Let's look at what the IPCC says about that. Although peat is not strictly speaking a fossil fuel, its greenhouse gas emission characteristics have been shown in life cycle studies to be comparable to that of fossil fuels. Peat is a fossil material. As is the case for all other fossil materials like coal, oil or gas, we need to stop using them as soon as possible if we want to stand even the slightest chance of tackling the climate crisis.